So, question one says, what do you think will be the easiest part of the 10-step process and explain why? Um, I mean, I think the easiest part is going to be choosing whether to do ASL to English or English to ASL.
Yes, I
Um,
agree.
but like we had talked about, kind of thinking through, um, watching a video and understanding, going from ASL to English, you might feel like you're a little bit lost, but then once you watch it a few times, you start to catch more signs. And then once you're able to formulate the bottom line meaning of what's being said, that's kind of what is being said in English versus the opposite, where the English can have a lot of um, renditions and options to translate into ASL. Um, so there's still obviously things to think about when picking one or the other. Um, I think I'm personally going to do ASL to English, um, just because I feel most comfortable with English. Obviously it's my native language. So, um, but um, I don't know. I think working to take in receive like my receptive with ASL and then English just being what it is, like translating that way. I think it'll be more difficult on the front end, but then maybe a little bit easier on the back end. I don't know. We'll see.
Um, I am most likely also going to be doing ASL to English after I learned that I will probably understand it more than trying to go from English to ASL, considering the English language is so difficult. Um,
Yeah, there's a lot of I think there's so many different ways where like the like ASL, like they sign big, and then I mean for English like you
yeah,
can choose so many other
like
different.
after the way you explained it to me, I was like, oh, you're right. That's gonna be hard.
Right, yeah, it just opens up like a huge um like vocabulary to choose from that I don't know. But if they sign like they said I go to store, like that's the gloss, and like that's what was said. Whereas like, yeah, in English, if you're saying like first I need to go to the store, then I need to go to the bank, and after that I'm gonna get lunch.
A list
Like
of things.
there's so many different ways that you could sign that. But if you might take a little while to understand that that's what's being signed, but then once you understand that that's what's being signed, like that's just what it is. I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a little more set in stone. The work part of it is on the front end, whereas with the other way, it seems flipped to me. At least that's my on the very, very front end of all of this. That's the way that I'm thinking about it. I could be wrong, but and then okay, number two is the side of that question. What do you think will be the hardest part? Right now, the hardest part to me is wrapping my brain around the full 10-step process to this. Um, I feel like it's a little bit like Common Core math, where it's like breaking everything down into its own like individual like step, which sometimes when things are broken down too much, it can start to feel like overwhelming to me. And um and I can like hyper focus on things that don't need like it's like right now like trying to figure out this like prediction math is just like throwing me for a loop, and I know that it's not that hard and it's not meant to, but I'm also one of those people who like I'm an English major and they'll always be like you need to like do a brain map or you need to do a mind map for like writing a story or writing a poem or whatever, and it has just never been my thing. I if I have a 14-page paper due, I write it all in one sitting because like my tone of voice and my brain and everything, it's not even procrastination, it's just I don't like to go back to work as a different version of me. And
Yeah.
like, so to me, breaking it up into so many different pieces is something that I need to wrap my brain around because I'm used to taking something as a whole and kind of like ingesting it and understanding it. Um, so I understand it's meant to like make it you slow down and think about the different actions that are going into an interpretation. But sometimes if you like run too slow, you'll fall over too. And that's kind of me. I go too slow. I'm just stuck in the mud.
No, it's okay. I get it. And I definitely agree with things that you said. Um I think I have a hard time remembering things. So I think not really my main concern or the hardest thing. Probably the second hardest thing is going to be for me to remember the signs and separate the unimportant signs from the important signs.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, because I tend to try and hold on to every single sign that's being signed to me. And
Yeah.
then I feel stupid and I get confused and I'm like, wait, what is that? And then it's like,
Yeah.
I don't even know what that is.
Right. Yeah. 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 So yeah, I think it will be yeah, not overcomplicating it is probably actually going to be the hardest part because if you just take what we've learned and what we've been given, then I know like it's not anything impossible. Like we can do it. Like we've already done some version of it all throughout by our
Yeah.
receptive and our expressive and all sorts of that. It's just kind of marrying everything together. Um, Three, what do you think will be the most beneficial part? Um, Beneficial part.
Do you want me to go first for this one? No,
Yeah,
and you can think.
yeah.
Um,
Like beneficial in what way? Beneficial to what? Is
yeah,
the as like the expounding question that I want to ask.
understandable. Um, I think the part that's most beneficial to me is I will, I mean, I guess I already know the skill, but I will learn the skill of I guess drawing through ASL since that is technically what I'm doing.
Hmm.
Um, I I don't even know how to explain it other than like um improving my skills through drawing through ASL. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. As you said that, it kind of like, okay, like I understand. Like the most benefit that I have to gain out of a practice like this is definitely building like my receptive because I'll be starting with ASL and moving to English. And so that is going off of a receptive basis to begin with. And that's definitely something that is, can always be like built on for sure. So like I said, I think that'll be a challenging part for me because I think like any language that you learn, your expressive is probably like the stronger. Like I can sign more, like I would be able to sign more than if somebody were signing to me picking up. I would pick up a lot less.
Yeah.
But I think that'll also be the most beneficial in like my ASL journey, and is you taking the opportunity to build noroceptive. And then, so it says add something you think is beneficial or negative about the 10 steps. Um, I mean, I don't feel necessarily qualified to say that there's something negative about it or even necessarily beneficial just because I haven't been through it.
Mm.
My only hesitation going into it might be my personal tendency to overcomplicate things as they're given to me, because I want to do everything perfectly and to its maximum potential. And so, something that's supposed to take like 4 seconds, like just a mind map of like, what do you think deaf lens means? I will probably take like an hour on, and it'll be like, you didn't need to do that.
I can.
So, does it have to be 10 steps? I guess would be maybe my question about it. But I also understand that things are what they are for a reason, and I can take it for what it is too. So
Um, I agree. I don't really have much of a say of. I can't really have much of a say. I do think that it is helpful. Because it is challenging me and testing me on my skill of going from ASL to English.
mhm,
Um, but I do also agree that I'm most worried about getting started and like having understanding about it before I get started, and then I
mhm,
start to it more as I'm going through it, and I'm like, wait a second,
mhm.
yeah, this now I'm confused again, and
Right.
I'm worried that I'm going to overcomplicate it again in my head, and then just I'm gonna go through the whole other cycle of, well, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah. 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 Um, yeah, battling that overcomplication when it's probably, it's, I mean, it's our very first assignment. It can't be that complicated.
Yeah.
But but because there's so many things attached to it, it
I think that
feels, and because it is an overarching thing throughout the whole, we want to make sure that like our basis understanding of it at the very beginning is correct, because if it's not, it's tied to everything else, right?
yeah,
And so I think that's why we are concerned about it. Um,
yeah.
but so yeah. Anyway, okay, so I'm gonna clip it there. Okay. Um, yeah.